Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one drink that we rule them all. Cookie fruit, remember your thoughts. Get your Uru hammers and your Middle Earth guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword +1. Usually wins till it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Guy.
Hello, I'm Alex.
And this is Geek Tank, your also not with Troy sized podcast.
Troy said that he'll be joining us as soon as he can. He's doing some paperwork, getting passports and such. So,
nothing like getting passports. He's trying to flee Ukraine again.
I think he wants to go toward Ukraine.
Wants to, right, toward Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. I'm working a joke here, and it's just falling absolutely flat. So today we were going to talk about Elon Musk.
Oh,
so it's an interesting topic discussion point. We've had discussions about Elon Musk before, but what I think is interesting about this is that as time has gone on, it seems that not only has the public opinion of Elon Musk kind of changed, but also our personal opinions have started to sort of shift. Initially, I was all for Elon Musk. To some degree, that opinion hasn't really changed. Mostly because for me, I knew what he was to begin with. So he hasn't really changed stripes on me. He's a super rich guy with a lot of charisma who is getting a whole bunch of people to do amazing things. He's not doing it himself, and I never had the belief myself that he was, some kind of heaven sent, coming down engineering everything with his own bare hands. He built building the log cabin he was born in with his own bare hands, or whatever. I never really had that opinion. I know very well that public opinion is what you need to make big projects happen. And in order for us to do things that occur, you need, or that are vital to the natural order of things, large projects need someone charismatic at the helm. And so my opinion of him hasn't really changed much. I figured somewhere along the line we'd find out he was somewhat crazy. He's got a relatively high IQ and a lot of money, and he was born into money. So all of those things seem like nothing really that I wouldn't expect him to not be just strange. So that's my opening statement on Musk. I assume, Alex, you have something kind of that vein or in that vein going.
I think he's a jerk and a knee biter. I've never been on the Musk train.
That's fine. Do you have anything beyond knee biting?
Of course. I mean, he's one of those people who talks about, I work so hard. It's like, how many boards are you on? So obviously being on 3, 4, 5, half a dozen board of directors is not as difficult as actually working a shift at a restaurant. Come on, man. Come on. It's like, give me a break.
But the question is, what about schmoozing and shaking hands?
I don't think he's charismatic. I don't.
I'm talking about schmoozing and shaking hands, knowing whose hand to shake and who to schmooze.
Sure, you're born into the privileged class, and you're going to have tons of connections that other people don't have.
Both are true.
What a surprise. So, yeah, no, just the things that he convinces people to sign off on are, I don't know all of them, one of the more ridiculous ones I know of is like, oh, we're going to build tunnels in Las Vegas and drive and have Teslas driving in there to get people places. I'm like, that's dumb. That's dumb. You're dumb. Actually,
Why is that dumb?
because you could just have a rail,
Isn't that what
which
Hyperloop
carries
is?
more people.
I mean, that's what I was under the impression that was what Hyperloop was.
What he was doing in Vegas.
No, but that's what Hyperloop is.
What is Hyperloop?
Above ground or underground super fast trains in a
Okay.
tunnel.
Yeah.
So either you build the tunnel. So the idea is, you know, the widgets that we have at the bank. You put the little thing in the thing. Whoomp,
Yes, I am quite familiar with the concept of pneumatic tubes as well as
right. It's
the whole
same
vacuum
widget.
tube trains. Yeah, I didn't know what Hyperloop was though.
Yeah, Hyperloop
brand name.
is a large version of that.
Okay,
That's what he's after on that one.
gotcha.
And I'm not 100% sure if the tunnels under Vegas was supposed to be a predecessor to Hyperloop.
I'm sure lots of people said lots of things about that.
Yeah, probably.
But as far as I know, it's Tesla cars in tunnels.
We've never put cars in tunnels because the carbon monoxide that they give off would kill people in tunnels. So part of this may just be how novel it is that you can stick your electric car in a tunnel and not kill yourself. I mean, that is pretty novel. To be fair, a Tesla will not kill you in a tunnel. So there's that.
Not from emissions.
So, no. But I mean, it's, you know, your Leaf, my Leaf, and Tesla's, they're not going to kill us on the carbon monoxide train. So that's kind of cool in that way. And so I don't know if that was what the thought process was, hey, we can finally build tunnels underneath we can build roads underneath the cities now because, you know, you won't die from carbon monoxide poisoning.
There are plenty of cities with tunnels underneath them.
Yeah,
rail.
but they've got
transports more people, isn't as sexy, isn't as new for people to want to gather around.
Yep. So the difference though is Tesla has pretty much forefronted electric car usage. I mean, there's been a lot of conversion by seeing Teslas out there on the road. A lot of people have converted to electric cars, and that's, I mean, you and I are amongst those. And we absolutely adore our EVs. And you know, the biggest problem with EV is that you have to get over but what if I don't have a charging station? What if I run out of gas somewhere? You know, because of course the mentality of people is they think of this as a gas car and not in the concept of going home and refueling your car while you go inside and put the groceries away. You know, they don't see it that way. They see you drive your car until it goes bing, 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 and a little light comes on, and then you freak out. So in a lot of ways, all we really needed to make EVs work was actual EVs on the road. So you'd start having Tesla drivers out there saying, no, that's not the way it works. Because I mean, legitimately, I got a Leaf because I was listening to Tesla drivers. You know what I mean? Because I was also doing the same thing of, oh no, what if I run out of gas? And it's not the same mentality with an electric car, as you so well know. We have a different thought process that we do. So it's a different thing altogether. And so,
I mean, visibility is important, but I mean, the electric car, we had electric cars on the road 20 years ago.
We had electric cars on the road technically electric cars predate gas cars.
They do. I'm saying like in the modern era though, I mean,
yeah, but in our current era, yeah, you're right. We had electric cars.
Before Tesla.
However,
I mean, Tesla has the high-end one,
which was the prototype that was put out there in the 90s. Everybody loved them, and then they were recalled and destroyed. Every last one of them. Nobody could buy them. Which was weird.
I've seen that documentary. Yeah.
Yeah, that documentary is freaky.
Yeah, try watching it with my dad.
Oh, I could see that.
My dad, when he was basically out of high school, he got a job on offshore oil drilling, and then after that, he went into the Navy and was on a boomer doing the nuclear technician stuff on the power plants and everything. And then after that, he got out of the Navy and went to the Department of Energy. We moved here to Colorado. He helped He helped shut down
And clean up
Rocky
Rocky
Flats,
Flats. That's it.
and then but he stayed in the DOE, right? And his job in the DOE is doing safety. But it's if you're not in the know, DOE, Department of Energy, um, he helps maintain the nation's nuclear stockpile. So watching Who Killed the Electric Car with my dad, every single scene, pause. Tell us some terrifying story related to what we just watched. Play.
I am of two minds on this one. Like, almost kind of want to watch it with him, but then on the same token, ignorance is bliss.
I kind of wish I'd recorded it.
Because I'm sure the
posted onto
information
YouTube.
overload on that would have been kick butt.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And you and I both live on the if it can be done, it can be overdone method of life.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like, wait, you mean I could get data from just this or double the data?
Right. Yeah, no, it was great. And Tesla to me is the corporation is the first one to put like a high-end sports car version of electric vehicles out there. But I mean, and public perception, and of course there's always a critical mass of tiny things and building until suddenly they're ubiquitous. I mean, how long has the Leaf been the largest install base of electric cars in the world?
It's been quite a while.
I mean, are we at 10 years yet?
No, well, maybe.
Yeah.
Plausibly, because we've had a Leaf in our garage for 7.
Yeah.
And we did not get a first generation, so at least 8 or 9 years. So yeah, we're coming up on 10 years.
Yeah, it's getting close.
But I mean, that's a thing. That's a thought process. But the question I've kind of am pondering here is how much credit does Musk get for changing public opinion? And how much is that worth? SpaceX is another good example. SpaceX is in our public zone, in our mentality because of Musk.
Right.
SpaceX, as a good example, Blue Origin is another private rocket company. But Bezos is not as good at it as Musk is. So they just, unless you're a nerd, you really don't know much about what's happening with Blue Origin.
Who do I know who's a total space nerd?
Right. I mean, I know everything about what's going on with the BE2 engine and stuff like that, but I'm a nerd. Whereas you could go to somebody on the street and ask about SpaceX, and they know,
I don't know about that. I've seen too many of those interviewing people on the streets from the Tonight Show.
Those are pretty funny, actually.
I know, right?
Those are
good. No, I mean, sure. I mean, there is some credit to be had there. I mean, it certainly is in many ways, right person, right time. More lucky than good, as we say in the role-playing table.
Maybe.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there's, that happens. I think also though that when we're looking at people like Musk, Bezos, blah 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 blah, we're buying into a narrative which isn't complete, and that is the narrative being the great man narrative. This guy totally did this and everything was great, and not talking about all the other people who were doing things in the same sphere that were also very helpful. I mean, even look at this. Speaking of Tesla, I mean, Tesla and the guy who got the credit for the radio, the wireless radio and such. there were so many people working on that at the same time that it was inevitable.
Right.
Like from 100 years removed, it's inevitable that would have happened. And it just depends on
There is a natural
all that.
progress with our technology. And one of the reasons that we have moved so quickly is the information age has accelerated the ability for all of us to understand where we are on the rank and hierarchy of technology. When you go back 3,000, 4,000 years, you know, somebody would invent something, then somebody had to get on a camel and run the camel for 6 months to get to the next city to tell them about what was invented. And then another camel had to go and another camel. And so it'd take maybe even 100 years for the technology to finally spread all over the world, at which time the people are building on it in different platforms, and you'll end up with the same invention occurring because it's a logical next step. Once the information age started, that accelerated in a major way. And Edison Tesla is an amazingly good example of that. They're both working on the shoulders of giants. Everybody's working on the shoulders of giants.
Exactly.
But they both were coming up with the same logical next step. And so there is a certain amount of that. We hit a point where the technology was open enough. But as you had said, I mean, we did have the ability to make an EV in the 90s.
Yeah.
But nobody did. And we needed one more piece of that to come through. And I think really what happened was finally, I think we're getting our political right to concede that maybe something's going on with our climate. And I don't think they're fully there yet. I think that's still trickling through that system. But now most of the governments in most of the places are starting to tip and feel like we should probably do something about some of this stuff.
Right.
And I think that was part of what was the catalyst. We had to get to lithium-ion batteries, but we've had those since 2005 or 2006.
Right. Cell phones.
We had to get to that stage first because lithium-ion's much better than nickel cadmium for batteries, and they hold a lot more energy. They hold it better, hold it longer. And now we're working with aluminum graphite as the next level of batteries.
Next step.
So that's good because aluminum graphite's a whole lot easier to get a hold of and dispose of, and it charges apparently faster.
Like, that's what I've heard.
Much less time, so you could technically have electric gas stations where you just go in and plug it in, and 10 minutes later it's ready, fully charged. And you've got 350 miles in that charge. Or whatever. But I do feel like, though, public opinion is a big deal. And there is something to be said for the P.T. Barnums of the world. Now, what the P.T. Barnums are doing is selling you your own grandma. And I know that. And I'm aware of that. But I also have managed to now see normal citizens on the ISS, which that's astonishing to me.
No,
NASA would never have gotten them.
What regular citizens got on the ISS?
Yeah, that was Dragon 4E 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Oh wow, hadn't heard that.
Launched 4, of course, billionaires, because of course you have to have $1 trillion.
And they're not normal citizens, are they?
Well, but they're not astronauts.
Okay.
So
they had enough money to jump the astronaut queue and not go through the training.
That's exactly what happened. But could I do it? No, of course not.
Sure, you could have had $1 billion.
I had $1 trillion, but I don't. Yeah. So it's the way it goes.
But
however, that's a jump forward. That's a movement into the next stage. We've moved into a stage where 15, 20 years from now, it's entirely plausible there'll be hotels up there and you'll take a vacation into space, in the low Earth orbit. We're working it now because popularity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not popularity because of that. That is the capitalist mindset wanting to commodify a market.
Right. But
and
it works to get the market going.
Sure.
Well, I mean, it did. I mean,
please sell me something I don't need.
Technically, all of this is a don't need.
Right. But no, it's like I said, the great person narrative is incomplete, and it's also incomplete. And there's other narratives we could be telling, because say not that long ago, just outside of your and my lifetime, it was everybody in the nation pushing for space travel. And sure, the motives were not pure in that contest either, but that is a different narrative, and honestly a more empowering one for everybody who isn't one of the aristocratic members of the world.
Yeah, I mean, the people who went to space the people who go to space through NASA are average Joes. I mean, they're guys from the Navy, they're guys from the Air Force, they're just you and me. But I don't know. When it comes to space, I'm brutally mercenary. And it's because I'm cognizant of how absolutely fragile we are right now, how vulnerable we are. And so in the long-term goal, I don't care how we get to Mars. I don't care how we end up putting up colonies on Mars that have 1 million people, or colonies on Ganymede or colony, you know what I mean? I don't care as long as we do it. Because right now, from what I'm seeing, I mean, we just had the hottest April on record ever here.
Yeah.
In India, this last week, it was 140 degrees Fahrenheit.
This all just speaks to me of the same narrative that comes out of previous energy crises, wherein we are so intent on not actually being adults or being stewards, that we try to find some other way to keep on going, and just it's like from the movement from petro from coal from charcoal from wood. I mean, these are not new. This is not a new problem we've had.
No,
we've had this
and
problem
in fact,
for
all of
thousands
the
of
climate
years.
change crisis has been going on for 300 or 400 years.
Yeah, and so, but it's just smacks to me of, oh, we still can't figure out anything to do here, though we absolutely could. Let's go ruin more people's lives and go wreck some other ecology. Even this one that we
There's
make.
no ecology on Mars to wreck, at least so far.
Whatever we take up there will become our
I know, but
environment.
I'm just saying there's nothing up there at this point in time to ruin. So one of the reasons why I'm kind of for going to Mars, as opposed to going to, say, Europa, where there might actually be something living.
Right.
Stay away from Europa. Attempt no landings there.
Right. Well, until we actually get around to trying to solve our problems, Europa's on that list later on, man.
It is. And I mean, I don't disagree with you, but it seems fatalistic to go to the, well, if we get wiped out by a meteor, we deserved it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I will concede that we are more fragile due to climate change right now than we ever have been before. I will not concede that we are more fragile to meteors than we ever have been before, Guy. Sorry.
It's not, I'm not terribly concerned about meteors, but we've got, it's still going to be 50 years before we can have a working colony on Mars.
When's the last time you read Moon is a Harsh Mistress?
Moon, oh, the moon is a heart. I was going Red Moon.
No, I haven't read those yet. I want to though. I want to read the Red Moon, Green Moon, Blue Moon, all that, or Blue
I've
Mars.
read
Green
those.
Mars.
They're good.
I hear they're really good. I want to read
They're
them.
really good.
But Moon is a Harsh Mistress is basically corporations on the moon, and it's totally coal mining company town BS.
Oh yeah.
Because that, I mean, well, one, it's science fiction, and so in science fiction, as you know, as a Star Trek fan, good science fiction is about what the authors see around them, and then they write about it, but they remove it from the real world just enough to try to slide in, hey guys, you might want to pay attention to this. Hey, dear reader, please pay attention to this. I'm totally not talking about fill in the blank. It's different. Wink, wink. So, no,
I mean that's one of those things, and I don't know.
and so,
I mean,
well,
and
let me
this may
continue
be
to
just
interrupt you,
something. Huh?
but yeah, I'm going to keep on interrupting you.
Okay.
So, like, and when we're looking at that, and we look at Tesla and Musk and how he's treated his workers, not so good.
Well, and that's another thing. I think one of the big changes that has occurred because of COVID is we've started to become cognizant and aware of how we treat workers. You know what I mean? Like, we're starting to realize as workers that this isn't acceptable anymore. And there's a lot of us who are moving around, doing different things, altering and changing things, altering our lifestyles. And so when a company does what companies have done for lots of years, which is run their workers into the ground, it's becoming news. And that's a good thing. And I'm not necessarily saying that because it's news, Musk has got a free pass. I'm just saying that I know that that's definitely something people look at and point out is, well, Musk is mistreating his employees. Well, everybody's actually technically been mistreating their employees. I mean, France has been on like 4-day weeks for years or whatever.
Well, if you're the tall poppy, you're going to get noticed.
Yeah. And
so
after everybody else, he's still standing out there. That makes some sense. And he deserves that to some degree. He deserves, and yes, I mean, one of the problems is people, him coming out there and saying, "Hey, I did this." You didn't. Engineers did this, and very smart engineers. But there's a certain amount of truth to the fact that people have tweeted to Musk, "Hey, my Tesla could really use an indicator on the dashboard that says something about their blinker being on or whatever." And he would reply, "Done." And in the next airdrop of everybody's updates, suddenly they'll get a blinker indicator on their, So there is some influence he has inside the operation of the company.
Well, we can't talk about Musk customer service rep unless we also talk about the update that came out to make all the Teslas better years ago that the early adopters had to spend a bunch of money for, and then he just gave it to free for everybody else.
Yeah.
And that when the early adopters like, "Hey, this isn't cool. What the heck? We literally spent thousands of dollars for this." And his response of, I'm guessing not legally counseled response, was basically, "Well, then I'll reimburse you, but then you can't use any Tesla charging stations." It's like, right. Sorry. $5,000 is actually real money to more people than you. We understand that. Just searching your couch cushions for the change and give it out, okay, buddy?
Right.
That's
another thing.
We're halfway through. Should we do sponsors?
We should do sponsors real quick. So let's go for this here. Here we go. Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and your
mom. And then also,
and we also have Starfest.
We don't have and Starfest. Yes.
Don't forget Starfest.
I have something special planned for when we do the post Starfest show. So it's not that special. Don't get your hopes up. Though we have no comments, so I'm guessing that no Troy 2 times in a row is killing our listenership.
Right. There's nobody there. Nobody's out there because we don't have Troy. It's just you and me. We're not as cool as Troy. But back to Musk. And by the way, I'm not a major Musk fan. I'm a fan of what he does, and I'm very practical about it. To me, he's P.T. Barnum. P.T. Barnum was also not a terribly good human being.
But I watched this movie about him, and it made him seem all song and dancey.
All right. But I mean, it was he managed to do amazingly interesting things. There's been a number of people in the history of the world that are like that, and so I just wanted to make sure that I admire what he's done, unlike what P.T. Barnum managed to pull off, which I don't really admire. Because I don't really particularly think that circuses are
exploiting people and animals that have been othered. What
right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I particularly care for the world that P.T. Barnum sort of birthed. However, I respect that skill, that ability to do.
And very few people are holy saints or holy angels or holy
Absolutely.
demons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I will drink Pepsi or Coke. I'm admitting that right now.
You monster.
I am. I'm just anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with Musk. I admire his ability to make people do things, and I admire in this instance, which is a level up from P.T. Barnum, I admire where his drives are. He's trying to get solar panels in everybody's house. He's trying to get electric cars in everybody's garage, and he's trying to free up NASA so NASA can move towards Mars by pushing them to go to Mars, and maybe get to Mars first. He may actually get there first. If that happens, still does the thing. So those things are things that I admire as far as mission drives. He is being very ruthless about how to get there, but he's a capitalist, and that's what capitalists do. And I sort of have to do a deep breath, I mean, legitimately, the socialist version of getting to Mars was going nowhere. It still is kind of going nowhere.
Right.
I mean, NASA just had to pull the SLS off the pad.
Well, that's political will. That's
right.
And that is the will of the people, and that's marketing.
That's a marketing problem. And so there's that. I mean, and really, honestly, legitimately, you just said the key word right there. Because Musk has the ability to be free of marketing to some degree. He
is using marketing.
He only needs to drum up the money. That's
all he's using marketing. Mm-hmm. That's why you get pieces about how great Musk is all the time and like all that. I mean, that is marketing. He is using it.
But he is also making himself that piece. So he's marketing him so that he can further whatever project he's marketing. And that's an interesting difference in the way that he's doing things. So I don't know. I admire the concepts that are going on here. There are a lot of things I don't admire. And so let's move on to the interesting politics of Twitter. Because this is an interesting thing where it has become politically divisive. That's the first time I've seen, I mean, a Tesla Model 3 just drove by. I'm just like, how interesting it would be taught. Well, I guess not really. Before I've never seen him dip into sort of the propaganda before. And I'm wondering whether he will become educated on things. I have a very different opinion on how social media works. First of all, just so people know, they have what's called the algorithm. The algorithm is really what it is this. If I want to sell something, I program the algorithm to know to some degree what my product is. So the algorithm will sell my product and sell products that are like my product. And if you click on my product, it'll also give you the products that are ancillary. The reason that that's a problem is because if my product is Troy in the wild. Hang on.
Cool.
Troy's in the wild.
Hello.
Hello.
We were
Starbucks Troy.
Yep. Broadcasting from the parking lot, so I don't have to worry about the music or people around me.
Well, good. This means that we'll probably get viewers now. We were
we have
just
no
observing.
viewers.
Without you, we have no viewers.
What happened to Brent?
No, Brent's in Florida on vacation for the next week.
Vacation from podcasts.
So
Hey, one of our other viewers is in Florida too. Joan.
Oh, well, maybe they're hanging out together and
Maybe.
geeking. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
Anyway.
and not only that, but it's also it's data hoovering, and they figure out, which IP addresses correlate to which neighborhoods, which people,
Yeah.
median incomes, all
So,
that.
There's a lot of, but the big thing
nothing
that I'm
new.
trying to kind of get to, I don't
Just
mean to
more
cut you off,
insidious.
but the big thing I'm trying to get to is it's automated.
Mhm.
There's nobody watching it. So if your product, as I was saying, was white supremacy, then you won't get to certain people until those people have clicked on things that move towards that spot. Once they do, your product starts showing up on their feed. But the other thing is, if I were inclined to use a marketing skill on this, I would post my things with screwed up algorithm functions and then complain about the fact that Twitter was blocking me. Because I would intentionally mess up the algorithm so that it would never get to my constituency, and then say, hey, have you noticed that nobody has seen my thing? I've noticed it. Well, your constituency is definitely going to notice because the thing didn't show up on their feeds. I proved this because a friend of mine has been talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. I don't want to know what's going on with Hunter. It doesn't matter. But the whole
Is
point
it a cool
was,
gaming laptop? I
Yeah,
could
the
use a
old
cool gaming laptop. Leave it on my porch.
Right. So the whole thing is, his argument was that Twitter has blocked that. Well, I went to Twitter using my Twitter account, which is absolutely agnostic because all we've ever done with it is broadcast Geek Tank on it. I went and searched, and I got 907 hits in the last 2 hours. Some 1,500 hits for the day, right? This is early in the morning. All of it referring to the article that was banned by Twitter, including I pulled up the article that was banned by Twitter. So I posted that to him like, hey, I'm finding it. Why aren't you? And he's like, I can't see it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's the whole thing, is all of this censorship that they're talking about isn't really a censorship thing. I would be more than willing to bet that the guys who are putting out their posts are intentionally messing up the algorithm so that they can rile up their constituency into getting mad. So
I've also noticed that sometimes Facebook's just glitches for like no reason. And we have a friend, one specific incident I'm thinking of, who thought that it was on purpose that his post was removed or banned because he said a quote from a movie. And so you and I both said it like 1,000 times and none of it was banned. It probably wasn't banned. It probably just glitched out because I've had posts glitch out on me And there's
I
nothing
think what
controversy about
happens
it.
is it's reporting. In that instance, I think there's a reporting algorithm that nobody knows about. So
Oh yeah,
the more times
the lawyers would
that-
insist.
yeah, the more times that you are reported by people, the more things get, the more they're watching for hate speech.
Yeah.
It
Or
gets more
disinformation
aggressive,
or
aggro.
Yeah.
And that particular friend of ours is really right leaning and has posted an awful lot of aggressive, kind of borderline hateful, not quite, but borderline.
So you think one of his viewers / friends is reporting him?
Yeah.
It's you, isn't it?
It's totally me.
Yeah, I thought so.
You heard it here
But
first,
only-
folks.
That's right.
But only because he prefers Pepsi over Coke or Coke over Pepsi
Or something.
or something.
Monsters, all of
He's
you.
a monster.
He parts his hair on the left side instead of the right side.
Monsters.
That's right.
But
can't tolerate
no, that's one thing I think is funny. I don't know how it's been shaken out,
We
but it's
totally
like,
had
oh,
one viewer.
Elon Musk had bought Twitter, and now they're gonna Troy
Save
equals
the world.
viewers. Now we know he bought Twitter, not to be this free speech haven. Anybody can say anything they want. I'm like, no, that's dumb. You're dumb. It's like,
Well,
That's
then,
what I was saying.
did you
I'm
guys already
wondering
mention how he?
long it will take? Well, this has been a progress we've been going through about Musk the entire time.
Right.
And
Did
now
you
we're
mention how he
finally-
canceled the car order?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
No, I haven't. You can.
Okay. So somebody said something negative about the company, and Musk canceled the guy's car order. He had like a Tesla, because Teslas you can't apparently just walk in and buy. You got to place them on order.
What a petulant little
And
jag
get 'em-
off.
I know, it's kind of like, how's that supporting free speech if you're going to penalize them for saying something you didn't like?
Don't hurt his feeling. He needs to go to his
That's
next
right.
board meeting. Meh.
Yeah, it was funny is years ago when I first heard of Musk, I was
Have we
only hearing the good
validated that
stuff.
by any way. I mean, has anybody-
Multiple. If you Google search Musk cancels car, you should
I'm
find
just
it.
making sure because like that's
Yeah, that sounds like the kind of thing somebody would make up, but it's been on multiple talk shows, and I'm sure that they pay enough people to vet that stuff. That you think, but you can Google search. I can't at the moment.
Right.
Look it up. But when I first heard of Musk years ago, I thought he sounded like a really cool guy. But then, of course, the more you get to know about him, the more it's like, oh, he's not a scientist. He didn't create this stuff. He just bought his way into it with family money.
Well, and what we were talking about this entire time was, yes, he's a P.T. Barnum, but sometimes we need a P.T. Barnum. And I didn't like what P.T. Barnum came up with either. But I do like what Musk is furthering. He's furthering trying to get solar panels in everybody's house. He's furthering trying to get electric cars in everybody's garage. And he's furthering getting onto Mars.
Yeah.
The mission statements there definitely align with what I'm after. Him himself, I've always kind of had a feeling he was a P.T. Barnum. I didn't have a problem with that. Yeah. Sometimes we need those.
Get that stuff on my roof. Get me a new car. Stay away.
Right.
Get off my lawn.
But on the same token, sometimes you need somebody who is willing to kill people. Do I agree personally with that? No, but wars do happen. And if you have just a whole bunch of people sitting around being peaceful during a war, then you're going to get overrun. So you need somebody.
Yes, war, politics by other means.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the point is, you still need a person whom their personal design is not exactly in alignment with me. I would agree or believe to some degree that George Patton was an awesome person as a military general. Eisenhower was a good person as a military general, and he turned out to be a pretty decent person as a president too. But you end up with a couple of people. I've met generals and military people, not good people. They like beat their wives and all kinds of horrible stuff. Good at what they do, bad at some other things. So it depends.
Well,
he's the right tool at the right time, in my opinion. I guess is probably the way it goes.
Is he though?
I agree that he's a tool.
So
he's definitely a tool.
I had a friend post something that I agree with. That she said that that Musk is a big disappointment in the fact that he was positioned in a place that he could have made right choices and has enough intelligence that he should have made right choices compared to the most recent ex-president who nobody expected good things from him because he simply didn't have the mental capacity or the right tools to achieve anything good. All he could do is just produce negative results out of negative influence. And it's like, yeah, Musk is a bigger disappointment because he could have done something good.
He could have. Well, and I guess it depends. He's still doing good as far as I'm concerned because Tesla is still running. People know about Tesla. SpaceX is still running. People know about SpaceX. They don't know as much about Solar City, but I think he's pivoting that. So we'll see. But the question that really does make me pause is, I guess really it's kind of like do we only want people who are good people to do good things for society? Or do we want the people who can do the good things to do good things for society? Or is it one of those we'd rather have?
Well, I mean, we would rather have good people and pure motives and all that. But I mean, you look at, okay, I haven't looked into Solar City for a while. When I was looking into Solar City, it was trading one utility for another.
Mm-hmm.
Stop giving this utility company money. Give Solar City your money instead. And I'm like, that's kind of dumb. Most people aren't going to do that.
Why would
you? Unless if it's a better deal, like if you're giving them less money for the same amount of energy. Yeah.
But it's like, because most people don't want to go through the trouble of having a bunch of construction workers around their house to put up solar. Just most people don't want to trade masters in that way. I don't think. I didn't. I'm like, the Solar City guy came out. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. No.
And a lot of people don't own their house, so they can't even get involved.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, in this particular instance, though, I mean, okay. So then you got to figure out how to convince people to pay $20,000. How do you do that? I mean, most people don't have $20,000. So instead, you're kind of stuck in the other, and that's back to the same thing, which is you can convince them by doing what Solar City is doing, or in the case of all of these solar things, which is, he exploded. Troy exploded.
Troy is no clipping error. No clipping error.
A car drove between me and Starbucks and cut out the Wi-Fi.
Oh. Right?
But I mean, like,
they're out to get you and stop your broadcast.
Another good example of that. How long do we have to wait until people have enough money to afford $20,000 to just?
Well, you and I both
went on top of their house.
You and I both went with another company that is doing a loan that we're in charge of the panels.
Mm-hmm.
Solar City could have done the same thing. And they weren't.
But you're splitting hairs on that one. I understand what you're saying because you're right. We went with a company that
this is not a splitting hairs issue. It's like this is directly back to Elon Musk could have done the right thing or a more right thing and decided not to.
Except that here's the thing. Our company is mimicking Solar City's concept with a better deal. So Solar City came out with that concept, which really was somewhat revolutionary. The idea of, because here's the thing. James and I have been trying to figure out how to get solar panels in this house since we bought it in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
This has been something that's been under James and I's sort of, we'll figure it out someday, but all the panels are $20,000. So whenever we get $20,000 just lying around, we'll do it. So I've been interested in Solar City's concept for a while, but just like you and I were saying, it wasn't quite good enough. But then this newer company came out with a better deal. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all about Mosaic, which is a company that came up with this idea of saying, oh, you know what? We want to further solar panels being everywhere. So we're going to make a bank that effectively...
it's all about financing is what it is.
It is.
It's not, I mean, and people have been putting mortgages on homes for hundreds of years.
Right. But the point that I'm getting at,
to convince the financiers to be able to go, okay, well, the solar thing is a good thing, or make your own bank to have financiers who do that. That is, that is not revolutionary. That is just going, oh, this has finally reached a critical mass of people want this. We can make money off this.
Right. But effectively, by blaming Solar City for being morally not as good as the ones that we took, that's kind of like saying the Model T was not a good car. Of course not. It was the first one.
Yeah.
It was the first car out there. You can't sit there and go, well, yeah, but there were no airbags in the Model Ts. Well, no, of course there weren't.
The difference I see it in is clearly it's not about making a renewable source of energy, or he would have looked at the price and went, I have $1 bazillion. I can charge bare minimum for this and not make a profit. And so the goal wasn't to make the world a better place by promoting solar energy. It was an aspect of it, but the main aspect was I want to make a profit off of this, and people will get it because it's people are becoming more green and self-conscious, and they want to dump money into green energy. So, and the whole idea of capitalism is, if he needed the money, he'd look at the other company and say, oh, I'm going to copy their model now and make it a better deal, so more people come to me.
The other company didn't come out till later.
Yeah, but he gets
they're out now.
Change the other company.
Well, yeah.
Change Solar City.
Solar City could change now, and you're right. Yeah. But I think that Musk has turned his focus away from Solar City in favor of his solar
Twitter
thing that he's doing. Well, or Twitter in this case. But the point that I was trying to kind of get at on this one, well, yeah, and there's the next question you sort of brought up, which is, if you have a multi-trillionaire and he creates a company that does a thing like, let's say, Amazon, which didn't do really the planet any good. It wasn't really green. It wasn't really forward thinking per se, and legitimately actually has run places out of business. So it actually has hurt a lot. Or you could generate a company that, comes up with green policies and things like that. And I don't know. I mean, like, if you're a businessman, what was it that somebody had said once about?
If people don't become billionaires if they don't if they have the mindset of a level of compassion, typically,
right.
Not always.
That was what somebody said, was, why is it there are no compassionate billionaires? And it's because you can't be. If you're compassionate, other people will run you over, and then you run out of money. So the mindset's programmed in early on. If you're a multi-trillion-dollar person, you're already kind of in the mindset of using everybody else. So I guess my thought is, I've known that forever. I've known that if you're a billionaire, you're generally ruthless. So the only reason that I'm positive towards Elon Musk is he's decided to be ruthless in a positive way. Yeah, he's completely burning the resources, and some of those resources are people. But I mean, Bezos just made a monster that ate every company that ever existed.
Although I blame that more on capitalism, because it's one of these things of, he saw a way, capitalism set up to undercut your competition to become successful.
Sure.
And he found a way to really undercut competition to become really successful. And it's one of those things that most people, because we grew up in a capitalist society, if we can get the same thing for cheaper, then why would we pay more? And then it comes down to what I call the charity buy. It's like, I will buy something from Black and Red for twice the price of what I could pay for in another source, because I want that place to stay open. I'm luckily in a financial situation where I can make that choice. If I would have known about Black and Red in my 20s, early 30s,
we'd still watch it. Just
I would love it. I would try to support it, but 75-90% of my money is going to be going towards the cheaper, because I have a much smaller budget at that point. But
and I'm it's making me sound like I am anti-Amazon. I'm not. I'm just saying that Amazon to me is like Ford or like Chevy, or you know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay. Not
Yeah, well, you're sad to see all these awesome businesses go out of business.
I am.
Adventurers
that is definitely a truism. But the question is, what I was saying to Alex, the ends justify the means? Or should we just make a culture which says the only people who could possibly do anything revolutionary or different must be people out of garages? Because we already know.
You make a false dichotomy. You make a culture where people want to do good and have the means to do good and the agency.
Right. But that requires a lot of changes in capitalism.
Oh no, change. We can't have change ever.
I'm not saying, I mean, because now you're mocking me on this.
No, sorry. Yeah,
but what I'm trying to say
huge
is
changes, huge
it would
systemic
require
changes
a major
in
set
society.
of changes in our capitalism.
Yeah.
Well, it's also
it's a bad thing at all. I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah, it's not saying that bad people can't do good things. It's saying that when bad people do good things, they cease to be bad. So if they do enough good things, then they stop being bad. So it's not saying you can't do good things if you're bad. It's pointing out bad people when they do things like spend $43 billion on Twitter, when it's like, weren't there better choices to make with that 43 billion? It's like, was it a smart? And so it's
better things to do with the billions that he put into SpaceX.
Well, that's weighing space travel versus social media platform.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Bezos has dumped $1 quadrillion into a company that has eaten other companies. You know, and I mean, it's a matter of, for me, I'm sitting there going, what's the judgment as to good or bad? They all learned from an early age to be brutally ruthless.
Right. They were all taught that.
They were all taught to be brutally ruthless. So it doesn't surprise me at all. All he has to do is just decide to dump money into Twitter, and poof, he's, you know.
Well, the reason why he's doing this is he thinks he's going to make him more money.
But I also feel like it doesn't take away from what has happened with Tesla and what has happened with SpaceX.
I mean, Tesla makes tons of money. I mean, Amazon makes tons of money. It's like they can afford to treat their workers better.
I agree that the companies need to do better. I agree that all the companies need to do better. I think, but again, that's back to our capitalism needs change. Our capitalism needs help. Yeah. There's a way for all of us to operate just fine in our capitalism. It doesn't involve this. You know what I mean? Like, but that's a different part of this. It's back to, do you hate the artist or do you hate the art? You know, do you hate the art because you hate the artist?
I mean, we can always talk about death of the author. I don't know if you've talked about that on the show before, but if you want to put it to this, and you can absolutely go, okay, yeah, trying to do these things is a good thing, and the guy can be a scumbag. You know, like I said, sure, give me a nice Tesla in my garage and some great rack up solar panels all over my roof, and don't talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Turn around and walk away.
Right. And that's kind of what I'm kind of questioning here is if this seems like in the end it all boils down to the same question we've asked before. Do you hate the art for the artist?
There's always, I mean, the death of the author is pretty commonplace, especially with certain artists. But if we're also looking at, say, gosh, what was his name? I remember that there's a great line that says the hand is no different than what it creates. But he was talking about an individual artist and the pain that he had put into the guy who made The Crow.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had taken the pain that he had and made The Crow. And like when you look at later interviews for the same guy, he's like, yeah, he's like, I wish I never wrote The Crow. I was way more depressed afterward than before.
Oh, wow. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been years I've heard this. If I remember, I believe it was his wife was like hit by a bus and
something
died.
Like that, yeah.
Something really horrible and tragic, and I think it happened in front of him possibly. And so that's what kind of fueled his creation of that.
Yeah.
But I think this kind of ties into when you're saying, do you hate the art and the artist? Well, you might love the art, but because of what the artist did, you go on a band and say, I'm going to vote with my dollar and not buy their stuff. So is that hate? Is that hating the art? if you choose
Which is
to.
on the same token of we don't go and see the Magical Beasts movie or whatever it is because we're right now against J.K. Rowling, except that there were a lot of people who made that movie who are getting no money, they're getting no payment, they're getting nothing out of this, or whatever.
The vast majority of the people who worked on that movie, we're running out of time, were already paid.
Yeah.
They get no residuals.
But they get no residuals from it. They also don't get the fame for it, which is important in the actors world. You have to have been on a big show for you to get another big show. And if a show flops, then you're not going anywhere. You drop to a B list or a C list celebrity.
Yeah. Oh no!
Oh no! We got hit by
a Matrix has him.
What's funny is there's a delay, so I'm back by the time I hear all of that.
Oh no!
That's funny. But I mean, that's the problem. Yes, you're right. Everybody got paid for that movie, and yada yada yada. And sure, and really, the only people we are hurting is Warner Brothers when we don't go to the movies. However, there will never be a third one of those movies. And the actors who were looking forward to being in the third movie, or maybe even signed a contract for a third movie, are not going to ever get it. So, kind of, there's stuff to think about on that one,
Well, I think we should probably wrap up before we talk for another hour about
stuff,
putting food on the table and compromising.
Anyway, it's stuff. This is something that makes me think a lot. Because I'm not necessarily 100% for Musk, but again, I'm not 100% against him either. So necessary evils in the world, I guess.
Is there such a thing?
Sometimes there is.
Is there?
So and that is all the time that we definitely have to keep going on this today. Thank you for joining us.
And did you guys plug Starfest and mention
we plugged Starfest and we did our advertisement or our sponsors in the middle.
And you mentioned the moving to nighttime at some point.
We're moving to nighttime at some point. Yes. Now.
Good you mentioned it.
In the next few weeks.
In the next couple of weeks, we'll be going to. What did we decide on? 9 o'clock?
I don't know.
8:30.
9 should work for me.
Okay. We just need to make sure that we leave enough time for Guy's second art hour or whatever that is. So we'll definitely clear that up next Monday's show.
We'll have that clearer next Monday. Until then, I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
Been Alex. And I've been Alex, so they talk over Troy.